Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan has accused President Trump and his supporters of trying to escalate violence against her. And this was based upon the fact that when her name came up at a Trump rally, people started shouting, "Lock her up."
Lock her. Lock them all up.
Obviously, lock her up is different than escalating violence against her. But I think the reason she said that is because she was alluding to this kidnapping attempt by a group of yahoos. The attempt was foiled, but there was a sort of media implication that these might have been Trump supporters. Now, this was flatly refuted when the ringleader of this operation spoke up and said, in effect, "I hate Trump. Trump is the problem." This was clearly a guy with a sort of whacked out ideology, a sort of anarchist who opposed Trump as much as he opposed Whitmer. So this whole kidnapping link was completely bogus. Now, let's think about why people would shout, "Lock her up." First of all, Governor Whitmer has been flagrantly violating the Constitution. She's been violating the First Amendment right to freedom of religion by shutting down churches, at the same time, by the way, that she's been allowing protests. And second, she's been violating the right to assemble. These are constitutional rights. Now, you might say, wait a minute, Dinesh, those rights are limitations on the federal government. The Constitution says Congress shall make no law doing this, Congress shall make no law doing that. But by a doctrine called incorporation, the Supreme Court has ruled that our basic liberties are protected both against federal and state intrusion. In other words, these protections have been incorporated to include the states as well. So Governor Whitmer has no right to restrict the First Amendment or the Fourth Amendment, and there's no exception for a virus. The second point is that Governor Whitmer has been dispatching people who are known to have coronavirus into nursing homes. Now, this replicates what Governor Cuomo was doing in New York, and it's killed a whole bunch of people both in New York and in Michigan. So the actions of the governor are complicit in producing deaths that would not otherwise have occurred. Now, I don't know if this is a violation of law, but it certainly is irresponsibility that almost rises to the criminal level. This is an absolutely horrible person, Gretchen Whitmer. And the worst thing is it shows you how the tyrannical impulse comes from very unusual people. You think of a tyrant sort of like a guy with a Stalin mustache, but very often the tyrant is simply some nag who wants to tell everybody what to do. Normally these nags have little power. They sit around whining, "You don't do this, you don't do that." But once you give them political power, they become absolutely unbearable, absolutely intolerable. Normally, it's only your husband, your son, your neighbor that has to live with people like Gretchen Whitmer, but sadly now the people all over Michigan do.